Wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
Over the years, I've managed to develop some serious character faults of which I'm extremely proud.
Well, good morning and welcome back. It is the last week in June of 2017 already. Man, summer is starting to creep by. And what a difference a week makes. The sun is shining, the birds are singing, children are playing in the streets. Gone, hopefully, is the muck and gloom of last week when I never felt like I could get anything done. So, new week, new revived ambition to get work done on the Starbug, as you see right here. And also a new week to start a new project. And I kind of like how we're balancing lately with doing a ship or a bit of hardware and doing a figure. It keeps all of my mental juices, which sadly seem to be on the decline, seems to keep them up and going when I can balance two different kinds of projects and hopefully two different types of color palettes so that I don't get into the rut of doing, working on the same color over and over, which can get frankly boring. So let's get on to also with the fact that the weather has broken, it means I need to take some time out and do some home maintenance. That the grass, I got shrubs trimmed over the weekend, which is neither here nor there, but the change in the weather means I need to take at least a few hours today to get a start on mowing the yard. So before I have to let the sun come out and warm up and dry off the dew off the morning grass and all of that sort of thing. So while that's happening, I can start on the Starbug, and then we'll get into the new project, which I hope you'll like. So let's get to the Starbug. First, let me say, over the weekend I was very pleased to receive some new good photo references on the bug itself. And giving me some close-up looks at some things that I really needed to have good reference for. And so the first thing we're going to do today is we're going to set down all of these circles and squares that we want to keep clean. And thankfully for these pictures, I do have better references as to where those go. You can see the ghosted image of the clean spots. So that's what we're going to do today. I bring this toy in as a good example. Now, a lot of people will poo-poo using a toy as a reference for building a model, and I normally do myself because, I can't resist a good poo-pooing. But in this case, the folks at, this is a fairly well-authorized kit. This comes from Grant and Naylor Productions, well, that's the copyright at least. But what it does, one good thing, it shows me basically the areas. What they're showing here in brighter paint are the areas really where those clean masks need to go, and it gives me a good approximation and shows me the ones I may be missing. Like I hadn't noticed these two up here until I saw it on the toy, and then I went back and looked at the reference picture, and son of a gun, they're there. So you can't just discount things right off the bat automatically because it's a toy. Sometimes, the people who made toys, make the toys also do some reference. And the nice thing about these is that it looks like the toys are actually the 1/72nd scale of the kit. So while they are oversized for the toy, they are more likely actual size when it comes to the 1/72nd scale kit. So I think they're going to make a nice little addition to the base and the setup of this kit when I get around to finishing it. Okay, I think we've got a good knock on it. Now there's something troubling with trying to do something symmetrical on what is inherently an asymmetrical kit. So placement is only general. It's not measured down to the 3rd decimal millimeter. So two types of masks on here. Where you see the open holes, those are where the darker green shapes or plates will be painted in. I'm going to do that first and then remove those masks. And then where you see the solids, those are the good new fresh plating pieces that will stay on for the remainder of the paint job and then taken off at the last minute, but those are where the new fresh plates are. And like I said, I tried to make it symmetric on both sides, but only generally. So let's get some darker green paint mixed up, and well, now see, now what I've got to do is take painter's tape and like really mask those areas off so that I don't overspray. But that gives you the general idea of what the next step is. And there you go. I got half of the, at least the port side of the darker squares painted. And what I'm going to do is take the tape off of the, the border tape off of these, move it to the other side, and do those ones. Okay, I finished painting the rest of the dark green squares, and I have removed the painter's tape around the shapes. So now all that's left to do is to remove the vinyl itself and reveal those dark green squares. And with all of the square masks removed, we now have dark green panels on the Starbug. And yes, those look a little stark, and yes, those look a little dark. They stark and dark, yes, it does rhyme. But that's intentional, because these ones will be painted over and kind of blended in a little more so than the ones that are going to be kept clean. So the next big thing to do is to start the weathering. And the most notable weathering is these guys, the stripes that happen on the engine housings. And I've pondered and pondered all weekend about the best way to accomplish that. Since it needs to be dark to light, I need to block the strip here so that when I'm spraying my dark paint on here, I'm left with a nice clean line here. Unfortunately, the problem is what happens when you move up to the next one, because I don't want to run the risk of hitting the overspray of the masking material that I'm using. So really what I think I need to do is mask this off, spray it, and then mask the next one off on both of these and spray. I can't mask all of the segments off at once is what I'm trying to say. I have to mask them one at a time and then move up so that I don't step over on top of myself with my masking material. Hopefully it'll become more apparent as we get into it. Okay, I'm back, and for the last few minutes I've just been putting in some black weathering on this, and these guys here have been bedeviling me all weekend trying to figure out the best way to do that. It just seemed to go against my nature to put black, mask off the highlights and then put the black shadows in. I don't, whether I'm left-handed or what, it just wasn't working out right. So I figured out the best thing to do would be to go ahead and darken them all, and then go ahead and then I will mask out the highlights. So I'll go back in and paint the lighter green on top of that. Just putting in those shadows with masking, it just was going contrary to the way my brain works, and I couldn't wrap my head around it. So darkening the whole thing, and then I'll go through and put the highlight lines in these guys. Rather than trying to paint in the shadowing, I've decided to shadow the whole thing and then paint in the highlights. I'm just more comfortable doing things that way. So now I am introducing this blacker color, and now I can start playing with the mottled greens and the like, so that when these guys get pulled off, you will see that original green underneath it. So the trick is not to get so far away from that green that these are really stark and horrible, just enough that you can see like it's fresh paint or uncovered fresh paint. So let's continue to play with this a little bit longer. Okay, I'm happy with this bottom section, and I think that's going to be the way to go as we go forward, but I'm starting to jump and mess up things, so it's time to take time off and go mow the yard. Well, welcome back. It is Tuesday evening. I apologize for not getting anything done on the bug today, but I was helping with the men of the church move a building, a little outbuilding. We're having some construction done, and they had poured a new pad, and I had to help move a building. So what I have time left to do tonight is to do a little cleanup on this next build. And you might recognize it from the parts, but it is in fact the Cyclops from the 7th Voyage of Sinbad. This is a Kit Kong kit. Same wonderful people who did the Gorn kit that I built last year. Looking forward to getting this one done. It's going to be another huge shelf taker, space taker upper, and I'm going to have to think about building a suitable place to put it once it's done. But as you can see, the base itself is about 14 inches across. So, you know, very few parts, but I have to clean them up and get them all joined together. And there is the face only a mother could love. Gonna have to do a lot of epoxy sculpting with the seams to hide them. I compliment the kit makers on how well they've hidden the seams, but they still need to be puttied together. But I thought you might like to look at his chompers up close. Okay, it's starting to get dark out, so time to move everything inside. This is about as much as I'm going to get done this evening, but this is great. I'm going to go ahead and let I will epoxy those legs in at the hip and let that be curing up overnight. But I really like the stance that this is giving me. When I put the head in, it ends up looking something like that. I really love the expression and the pose of this. You've got another arm that's way back like that. So the hands need a little bit more careful cleanup than I can do right now. So we're going to call it an evening. Welcome back, everybody. It is Wednesday. And like I said yesterday, I lost a day. I didn't lose a day. I was doing some volunteer work at the church, and not to toot my own horn, but you got to do some of that every once in a while just to keep your feet grounded on where things really matter in the world. So I'm back at the Starbug. Now this morning I have been using a little bit of Vallejo weathering effects. This particular one is called Streaking Grime, but the important thing about it is, I used the Slimy Grime Light. That was the one, the color I used. They're very similar. But the secret thing about these is that they're brownish green. They're a gunky color, which works good as shadowing on the Starbug. So just using a straight edge and a airbrush, I just put in some panel lines here and there, and overlapped on top of my yellow clean templates, and I put some streaking in here, just very light. And the nice thing about it is you don't need to go heavy-handed with it. The last part of the plating that I really need to do today is to finish these, what I'm calling bumblebee or beehive looks, because they look, if they were yellow and black instead of green and black, they would look like the back end of a bee. So I'm taking care of these today, and then I will be ready to, I believe, take all of these yellow bits off and start the red and black pinstriping, which shall bring the bug to a finish. There's only a tiny couple things left to do. I need to build a better rear end aerial for that, because it should have multiple stingers coming out, not just one. So got to recreate that, which is easy to do, and I can do that out and apart and away from everything else. And then I need to really grime up the back of this, and that's going to be easy to do, just taking a big brush and slopping some weathering in there and some rust and stuff. But those are things that I can do after I've got these off. So what I'm looking forward to doing next is to noodling out the back of these. Okay, I have to get far back away from this guy because he is so huge. But this is where I got last night on the Cyclops. I got the legs epoxied in, and I need to start filling in with epoxy sculpt to get the fur on his legs, or on his hunches, blended in. But this one's going to be huge, like the Gorn. It's going to really need its own shelf. And unlike the Gorn, though, I'm going to have to... the Gorn I was able to build in pieces because of the natural Well, let me show you. Okay, if you'll remember when I did the Gorn, I was able to leave his arms off because of this natural joint right here. But I had to build the head and the legs and body together. Well, the Cyclops doesn't have that going for it. I have to blend in the shoulders and the head and the haunches before I can really do any painting. So I thought you might like to see the Gorn in his new resting place. Okay, it's a long process, but so far a fruitful one. I've got the second layer of these guys on. Now I need to let that dry so that I can come back and maybe put the third one on tonight. We'll see how much of it I can get done. Okay, it may not look too pretty, but it's done. These are the 4 segments on both sides of the engine housings, main engine housings. Yes, it's a little bit dark. I'm going to do a light pass, a blending pass over all of that. That'll hopefully lighten some of that up. Although in most of the model shots I have seen, that area is in fact darker. It's just maybe not this dark. So I'm going to let that sit overnight, come back to it in the morning, and lighten it up. Good morning, it is Thursday, and it is the gateway to the weekend. I know I keep saying that, but it is. And it's actually the gateway to the long weekend because of the Independence Day holiday coming up on Tuesday of next week. So we are in the final throes of painting on the Starbug. All of the major paint has been put on right now. I'm just doing some washes with some Comart fertile soil. I want to rust this up a bit. Actually, no, this is light rust. I'm going to splash some in there and rust up the back of that a bit. And I've been working on the stinger, what I'm calling the aerials that go out the back. It's more than just the one single one. There's 2 up front that come out, and they're just singles. This is kind of built up of a bunch of them, so that's going to go on the back and be painted. And I've got the engine bells that I've worked on, and those are ready to go on. But first, before we do all that, I want to get some rusting going on in here. I've put some metallic accents in the back deck, done some more weathering, and painted in the front windows. It's a little, I know it's a little stark, it's a little cartoony, it needs to be weathered in. Next step is to take these guys off, because I think I'm to that point where I'm done with weathering the outside. And then we remove the yellow vinyl, and then we can put the pinstripes and decals on. Okay, it's subtle, but it's there. You can see not all of them are equally bright because they all shouldn't be, but you can see the ghost of those panels now act as, especially like that one under there, act as a clean spot in an otherwise grimy paint job. So now it's time to do a one big old blending pass, just very, very, very light coat of paint, not more than just a mist, really. Just a little bit of a blending coat. And then, oh hush, compressor. Just that very light blending coat, and then we'll be ready for the semi-gloss, which will allow me to put the decals and the pinstriping down. And while the Starbug is drying in the other room, I thought I would do some work on the Cyclops, and that includes epoxying his arms on. You really can get a sense of just how big this kit is once, and then I'll put this little noggin on. But I have puttied in the seams from yesterday, from that were the gaps that were created from putting the legs in place. Bound to be some gaps, nothing wrong there, just a little bit of epoxy sculpt. And the same thing is going to happen on these shoulders. I need to smooth those joints out because that is his skin. He's not wearing any clothing, naked little Cyclops that he is. And so I need to blend in the shoulder, the skin at the shoulders. And like I say again, here is his, there's his face. Ooh, yes, it means painting an eye, but at least only one of them. I don't have to worry about making 2 eyes look like they're going off and they're looking in the same direction, since it's only one eye. But that's, I would say, we're getting close to 2 feet tall by the time we're done with the whole thing. So it's definitely going to need a shelf. And I picked up some paint yesterday, some of my favorite texture sand paint for the base. And I got a pink, this is actually a, what we call it, coral peach primer and paint and primer that I'm going to use as a base coat for him before I start putting all the detail painting on. Good to get a base coat or a primer coat that's close to your finished color, so you don't waste a lot of time trying to cover over your primer paint. But I just love the pose that they made for this. It's the ultimate say what pose. Just great, just great. Kit Kong, I cannot say too many nice things about them. And here's a Starbug with a healthy dose of clear satin finish on it. As you can see, all the aerials have been glued in. That little radar dish type thingies on the top. I've got the engine bells glued in. I've got the stinger on the back glued in. Everything is ready to go. This will get, I will let this sit for a good long while, and then I'll put one more coat over it where the decals are going to go, so that there's a nice glossy undersurface for the decals. And then that's what we'll do. And I think decals and pinstripes will be the order of the day for tomorrow. And there he is in all his full glory and charm. Got the elbow or the shoulders and the neck all puttied in. And I will let that dry overnight and do some tooling on it tomorrow and maybe get a primer coat on it. Well, good morning and happy Friday to everybody all over the world. Today is decals and pinstriping day on the Starbug. For reference, these are the decals that come with the kit. I will be using exactly these ones, the white ones and these little markings. I will not be using the red stripes, the black stripes, or these green blocks, because I've made my own. Not the green blocks, I made those with paint. But the red and black stripes I've cut with vinyl, because I feel these are way too fat. Some of these are like twice as fat as they need to be based on the reference pictures that I've got. And B, because I can reposition vinyl a lot easier than I can worrying about pushing flimsy decals around. Now, there are 4 parts that are still not on the kit. Those are the reinforcers for the struts here. Those will go on after everything else is done. They are just so sensitive and delicate that I don't want to try putting them on just yet. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the a couple of the red pinstripes on, because they are, and I'm using this toy as a model because based on, it is a model, as a reference, because based on a lot of the reference pictures, they do have the striping correct, even though there are some other details that aren't kind of wonky. The pinstriping seems to be correct on these. So the ones that are, I guess, latitudinal, longitudinal, I don't know, the ones that go this way, I can go ahead and put those on. It is the ones that go this way, the ones that go horizontally, that's where you have to start figuring your placement, because the details on this kit aren't quite, like this door's too big, this is in the wrong spot. So you kind of have to figure out based on the geography as to where those are going to go. And actually putting the white decals of Starbug, the name here and here, is going to help me position excuse me, help me position the striping around them. So the decals will get first priority, the white decals get first priority, and then the black pinstriping goes around them. But the red pinstriping, like I say, I know where that needs to go, and I can go ahead and start putting it on, and then we'll hit the white decals. And there you go. That's the red pinstriping put on. Take a look at the thickness of the pinstripes versus those ones, and you'll see what I was saying about them being way too big. But pinstripes are on. Like I said, the red ones are easy because there was only just this one angle. This guy, I thought, was easier to cut out of one piece of vinyl than to piece 3 of them together. I don't know why they didn't do that. They gave you these two, which I guess were supposed to be those. And that right angle was easy enough for them to do. I don't know why they didn't put on these little guys. But the red stripes are on. And now it's a question of starting to do the white decals. Okay, dealing with the white decals. I've decided not to deal with the white decals other than the names. These ones and stripes I have decided to paint on. The thing about them is the ones are an easy font. It's microgramma bold. It's an easy font to duplicate. And I think they're a little small. They're a little small for the fins that they need to go on. And so the easiest way to do that is to recreate them as a paint mask. And what I've done is I've just traced the outline of this whole wing, and I can redesign them to my heart's content. The stripes, the thickness of the stripes, the space between the stripes, and the number. And this number here was way too small on the decal sheet. It needs to be a lot taller. So easiest way to make a new number 1 is to paint it on there. So thought I was done with paint, but I appeared to be backtracking a bit. So what I'm going to do is just make those masks now and then paint the numbers on. Okay, I've cut out some ones, and I think that one is a good size. That one right there, that particular one. I like that one there. So I'm going to put the template for that one around it and remove it, and I'll have a one in place to paint. Okay, well there's the half of them. Got these guys masked off on the inside of the wings, and this guy, and I'll paint that and then remove these masks and do the other side of the wings. I don't want to try to mask them all off at once because the masks will actually butt up against each other, and that's never good. I end up painting the white on, and it's best always with painting with white to do several light passes rather than one heavy pass, because you can goop up paint if you try to put too much on at one time. So one more pass, you can still see, well, you can still see a little bit of the green through there. The one on the front is fine, but one more pass on these, and then I'll be ready to remove the masks and do the outside of the wings. And here is the one with the mask removed. Now, the important thing about this is I can age this even better than I could a decal. I can put some sort of wash over it to dirty it down, and it will look more a part of what it should be. And there you go. White markings painted on. And now I am free to age them up a little bit, which I will with some calm art. But they're on, they're in the right place, they are the right size, everything is good. Okay there, friends and neighbors, I am back from lunch, and having given the white paint a good chance to dry, I am ready to put the rest of the white decals on, which consist of the Starbug names. So let me get those on, and what those do is help me line up the black pinstriping lines, which will be the next thing to do. Okay, the first name is on. It's a little big, I gotta say. Just like the other decals being, the stripes being a little fat, I think the lettering on this is a little big. But you know me, I'm hard to please. Getting it on there and getting it level is the neat trick, because you have so many angles and weird circles and everything. Trying to make it look like it is level is the trickiest part. And now to put the little small one on the front. It's tricky to get that name on just right, but best way I've found is to sit the Starbug on the table and just measure off that baseline and make sure it's even on both sides. Comes up to 4 1/8 inches off the ground for the baseline, but it's, at least we know that name now is square, or is parallel to the ground, even though it looks like it's at a weird bit of an angle on the ship itself. Okay, the face is fully decaled, and I've got some of the black pinstriping started. Now to carry the black pinstriping over the top of the head and then back on each side. There is a certain symmetry to it. And there's the black pinstriping on the head. Very happy with how these are turning out. Not too shabby. We'll do the ones that I know that go on the back. The center ball is going to be the trouble kid because that's the one where the dimensions are the most off. The back is okay, the front is great. The center one is a little bit wonky. So let's go ahead and put the black pinstriping on the back. And there's the stripage on the back ball. Those ones are in, the side ones are in. I was able to semi line up the geometry like it should be. I've got the ones on the back here. Those look good. Now the only ones left are the ones that go on the center here, and if you can tell from the toy, this one kind of goes down and around this indent, and then there's one that goes up from the can up and straight in. Well, that can here, you see how far back it is on the toy and how far up it is on the kit. So those stripes are going to be much smaller as a result. Well, yay, that went on. Those went on probably better than I had a right to expect them to. Good thing this vinyl is repositionable and bendy, so that I can, kind of bend it around to make it work. But those ones went on pretty darn good. All I gotta do is the one left on the bottom, and the pinstriping shall be done. And this is where I think we're going to leave it for this week. It is very close to being finished, tantalizingly close to being finished. All that is left to do is to dirty up the white marking some, and then give it a flat dull coat to finish it off. And that flat coat will also knock the gloss off of the pinstriping. So what I'm going to do is let this sit for the weekend, which means all of these decals will be nice and dry and set in come time for Monday morning, when I will dirty it up and then put the flat spray to it. So this is the state of the bug for the week. And here is the at least the constructed Cyclops. The epoxy sculpt has set up overnight, and he's in his final pose. I've got, before the rains came again today, thank you very much. Before that happened, though, I did get a coat of sand on the base. I had also had to sculpt some of the base with some epoxy sculpt to make it meet his feet there where it didn't quite meet up. But I just love that pose. The pose on that is just perfect. So I will start actual paint on this next week. Look at that face. Look at that punum. Okay. And there is the oh so close to being finished Starbug. And that's going to do us for the week. Got a lot of work done on that Starbug. Almost finished. That close to being finished with it. Certainly we'll wrap it up next week. A couple of details to take care of. Still have those little struts to replace back on the landing gear that I wanted to wait until the very end. Well, it's the very end and time to do it. So I'll be doing that, and then the final flat coat and the dirtying up of the white paint and the decals, and then the flat coat over top of that. And that'll finish off the Starbug, and we can pick up some more ships. I like this idea of balancing a figure with some ships, and it keeps both sides of my brain interested at the same time, which is a unique trick. Cyclops is going well. The huge guy that he is, I'm going to have to build shelving for it, even though I just got a room. I'm going to have to build a shelf in there for it to stand on. Luckily, it's not all that deep. It's just very tall. It's not, I don't have to make a real deep shelf for it, but I love that pose. The Kit Kong people know what they're doing. Highly recommend them. So once we finish a Starbug, we'll pick up another ship, and we'll go from there. So this week is coming up is 4th of July weekend. Happy Independence Day. The movie, not necessarily the holiday. And let me see, I think that's it. Until next week. Maybe a short week next week. So until then, be good to each other, like I always say, and go celebrate the 4th with a 5th.